What if the people you call family are the ones secretly destroying you? What if the voices meant to protect you are the very voices that chained you? Think about it. Strangers can't break you, but a parent's words, a sibling's mockery, that can echo for decades. We're told family is sacred, but what if family is the cage? What if the greatest obstacle to your happiness carries your last name? Stay with me, because once you see the truth, you'll never look at family the same way again. Toxic family members can be the greatest obstacles to your happiness. Let that sentence sink into your bones. Because if it stings, if it makes you shift uncomfortably in your seat, it is because you know it carries truth. We live in a culture that worships family. The word itself is drenched in sacredness. Family is home. Family is blood. Family is everything. But what if the very people you are told to trust most are the ones who carve wounds into you so deep they never truly heal? Think carefully. How many of your most painful memories were created by strangers? And how many were carved into you by the people sitting at your dinner table? A stranger calls you worthless, and you laugh it off. But when a parent says it, it becomes the voice in your head for decades. A stranger dismisses your dream, and you forget about it tomorrow. But when your sibling mocks it, you question your worth. An enemy insults you, and it fuels your defiance. But when family belittles you, it crushes your spirit. Why? Because family is supposed to be your foundation. And when the foundation cracks, the whole building trembles. For many, the first battlefield is not school, not work, not society. It is home. Some of you grew up in houses where silence was more terrifying than shouting, where love felt conditional, like a paycheck you had to earn. Some of you grew up with parents who compared you relentlessly. Why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like your cousin? Why can't you be more like anyone else but yourself? Some of you were punished, not for doing wrong, but for daring to express yourself. For crying, for asking, for being. This is how the seed of self-doubt is planted. You learn very young that your worth is not inherent. It is a performance. You learn that approval is oxygen, and love is a currency you must trade for obedience. And then you grow up. But the child inside you never leaves. That child still trembles when a parent raises their voice. That child still panics before a family gathering. That child still craves the one sentence that never came. I am proud of you. Here is the cruel irony. Society praises you for cutting off toxic friends. It applauds you for leaving toxic workplaces. But dare to walk away from toxic family, and suddenly you are ungrateful. Suddenly you are a traitor. Suddenly you are the problem. So you stay. You tolerate. You endure. You sacrifice your happiness on the altar of loyalty. You think, maybe one day they will change. You think, maybe if I try harder, they will love me. You think, maybe this is just what family is supposed to feel like. And so the years slip away. But here is the truth. Toxic family members can be the greatest obstacles to your happiness. Not because they are more powerful, but because you give them power every time you confuse obligation with love. The most dangerous prisons have no bars. The most powerful chains cannot be seen. What are these chains? The guilt when you consider saying no. The shame when you set a boundary. The fear of disappointing people who have disappointed you your whole life. The belief that blood automatically means love. These are the invisible handcuffs. And you wear them so long, you forget you have the key. Think of the man who still calls his mother every day, even though every call leaves him drained, criticized, belittled. Think of the woman who attends every family event, even though every gathering leaves her feeling smaller, less worthy, less alive. Think of the adult who still pursues a career they hate, because that's what my father wanted. These are not choices. These are chains. And what do chains do? They keep you small. They keep you stuck. They keep you blind to the horizon that was always waiting for you. Toxic family members do not always attack with fists. Most of the time, the weapon is words. The sarcastic comment disguised as humor. The comparison to your sibling disguised as motivation. the backhanded compliment disguised as love, the guilt trip disguised as care, the silent treatment disguised as discipline. These are not harmless. They are emotional daggers. And the wound they create is not visible, which makes it even more dangerous. A bruise heals. A scar fades. But the voice of your mother telling you you'll never amount to anything, that echoes forever. The human brain is wired to remember emotional pain as vividly as physical pain. Sometimes even more. Which means a single sentence from childhood can haunt you into your 30s, 40s, 50s. And if you do not recognize this, you carry their words into every room you walk into. You carry their judgment into every relationship. You carry their control into every decision. Think of this: a young professional in a corporate office, too afraid to speak in meetings because at home, speaking up was punished. A woman staying in a toxic relationship because she was taught that love always hurts, that sacrifice is normal. A man who never pursues his dreams because his father drilled into him that security is more important than fulfillment. An adult who apologizes constantly because they were conditioned to believe their existence is a burden. These are not random struggles. They are fingerprints of family trauma. The workplace, relationships, friendships, all are stained by what happened at home. We are told, family always has your back. But what if they are the ones pushing you down? We are told, family loves you unconditionally. But what if their love comes with conditions? Obey me, agree with me, be who I want you to be. We are told, family is forever. But what if forever feels like a prison sentence? Do you see the trap? The same culture that tells you family is sacred also tells you to accept abuse in silence. And so millions walk around carrying wounds they cannot name. Because, how can you call your mother toxic? How can you admit your father's love was control? How can you say your sibling is not your ally but your rival? It feels like betrayal. But the real betrayal is betraying yourself to keep the illusion alive. Let us be clear. It is weakness to allow yourself to be controlled by guilt. It is weakness to confuse abuse with love. It is weakness to stay silent when your soul is screaming for freedom. But it is power, true, unshakable power, to see the truth. To say, family is not defined by blood, it is defined by love. To say, I am not obligated to suffer. To say, I will not sacrifice my happiness to protect their illusion. Weakness is staying in the cage. Power is recognizing the cage was never locked. Every time you swallow your truth, you pay with your peace. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you pay with your sin. Every time you stay when you should walk away, you pay with your future. And the cost is devastating. Dreams unpursued. Relationships sabotaged. Confidence shattered. A life unlived. Do you really want to look back decades from now and realize that the greatest obstacle to your happiness was not the world, not strangers, not bad luck, but the family you never had the courage to walk away from? The first step is not walking away. The first step is seeing clearly, naming the poison, acknowledging the wound, admitting that love should not feel like chains. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you name it, you cannot unknow it. Once you taste freedom, you cannot go back to pretending. And this, my friend, is the beginning of awakening. The greatest prison is not built with concrete. It is built with belief. You are not bound by bars. You are bound by stories. Stories whispered to you since childhood. Stories that tell you what family is, what loyalty is, what love is. And these stories become illusions. Illusions so powerful that they convince you to accept misery as normal. From birth, you are told, blood is thicker than water. But is it? Think of your own life. Who has truly supported you in your darkest moments? Was it always family? Or was it sometimes the friend who stayed up with you until 3 a.m. when you were breaking down? The truth is simple. Blood may create relation, but it does not create love. Love is earned. Respect is earned. Loyalty is earned. Yet millions remain enslaved to the idea that because someone shares their DNA, they must accept their poison. This is the first illusion. that blood equals love. It does not. Toxic families thrive on guilt. They say things like, "You wouldn't even exist without me. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me. If you loved me, you'd do this. Family is all you have. Don't you forget that." Do you hear it? Guilt is their favorite currency. Because guilt makes you compliant. Guilt makes you silence your truth. Guilt makes you stay when every cell in your body is screaming to leave. But guilt is a trick. Guilt is a chain forged by manipulation. Here is the truth. You did not ask to be born. Your existence is not a debt. A parent's job is not a favor, it is responsibility. And if they failed in that responsibility, you do not owe them repayment with your life. Another illusion. Respect is automatic. Respect your elders, they say. But why? Respect is not a birthright. Respect is not given because of age, title, or blood. Respect is earned through integrity, kindness, and love. If an elder uses their age to dominate, control, and belittle, they do not deserve respect. They deserve accountability. But families twist this. They tell you that questioning is disrespect, that boundaries are rebellion, that standing up for yourself is arrogance. And so, you bow your head. You stay silent. You become obedient. But obedience is not respect. It is submission. And submission kills the soul. Perhaps the strongest illusion is obligation. The belief that you owe them your time. You owe them your loyalty. You owe them your silence. But obligation without choice is slavery. And slavery, no matter how you dress it up, is still bondage. Consider this. Would you keep working for a company that insults you, underpays you, and mocks your effort, simply because they gave you your first job? No. You would leave. So why do you stay loyal to a family that does the same to your soul? Because you were conditioned to believe you must. But you must not. This illusion is not just personal. It is cultural. Across societies, family is elevated above all else. In some cultures, the idea of leaving your family is considered worse than crime. In others, family honor is placed above individual happiness. This conditioning runs deep. It tells women to stay in abusive marriages for the family. It tells men to sacrifice their dreams for the family. It tells children to keep secrets that should never be kept, abuse, violence, betrayal, because exposing the truth would shame the family. Do you see how twisted this is? Family honor is protected, while family members are destroyed. This is not honor. This is collective denial. And here is the most sinister part. Illusions are passed down. The parent who was guilt-tripped becomes the parent who... The child who was silenced becomes the adult who silences. The sibling who was compared becomes the parent who compares. Generational trauma disguised as tradition. Dysfunction disguised as duty. Pain disguised as love. And unless someone breaks the cycle, it continues. Maybe you are the one meant to break it. Psychologists have a word for this, enmeshment. It means the boundaries between family members are blurred. Parents live through their children. Children feel responsible for their parents' emotions. Everyone is entangled in a web of guilt, shame, and control. In an enmeshed family, independence is betrayal. Autonomy is rebellion. Saying no is seen as cruelty. And so, the child learns to erase themselves to keep the peace. To sacrifice their happiness for harmony. To live a life that belongs not to them, but to the family story. But what is the cost? Anxiety. Depression. Resentment. A life half. Another psychological trap is learned helplessness. When you are raised in a toxic family, you learn that no matter what you do, nothing changes. If you speak up, you are silenced. If you succeed, you are diminished. If you fail, you are mocked. So you stop trying. You stop hoping. You stop believing in freedom. This is why many adults remain stuck. It is not that they cannot leave. It is that they have been trained to believe leaving is impossible. But learned helplessness is a lie. The cage is not locked. The door is open. but you must have the courage to step through it. The cruelest illusion of all is trauma bonding. Toxic family members alternate between cruelty and kindness. One day they criticize you, the next they praise you. One day they belittle you, the next they hug you. And your brain becomes addicted to the cycle. You chase their approval the way a gambler chases a win. You hope the next time they will love you unconditionally. But the cycle repeats, and you remain trapped. This is not love. This is psychological warfare, and the only way to break it is to see it clearly. To name it. To refuse to play the game. Consider the man who becomes a doctor, not because he wanted to, but because his parents said. It's the only respectable path. He spends decades healing others while quietly dying inside. That is the illusion of obligation. Consider the woman who stays in a marriage arranged by her family because leaving would bring shame. She spends her life pretending to smile while her soul withers. That is the illusion of family honor. Consider the child who is told, "Don't tell anyone what happens at home." They grow up carrying secrets too heavy for their small shoulders. That is the illusion of protecting family image. Consider yourself. How many decisions in your life were made not from desire, but from duty? How many times have you swallowed your truth because the illusion whispered, family comes first? The illusion says, blood is thicker than water. The truth says, love is thicker than blood. The illusion says, respect your elders. The truth says, respect is earned, not demanded. The illusion says, you owe your family your life. The truth says, you owe your family nothing if they destroy your soul. The illusion says, leaving is betrayal. The truth says, staying in abuse is the real betrayal of yourself. Do you see the contrast? Weakness bows to illusion. Power lives in truth. But here is the good news. Illusions cannot withstand truth. The moment you question them, they crack. The moment you challenge them, they shake. The moment you see them, they lose their hold. Think of a magician's trick. It seems real until you see how it works. Then the spell is broken forever. Family illusions are the same. Once you see that guilt is manipulation, it no longer controls you. Once you see that obligation is slavery, it no longer binds you. Once you see that respect must be earned, you stop giving it blindly. The spell is broken. And when the spell is broken, freedom becomes possible. The illusion was never the truth. It was a story told to keep you obedient. But you were not born to be obedient. You were born to be free. And the first step toward freedom is clarity. To say, I see the guilt trap. I see the obligation. I see the manipulation. I see the illusion. And once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you awaken, you cannot go back to sleep. This is how the journey begins. There comes a moment when the fog lifts. When the lies you've been fed collapse under their own weight. When the illusions that bound you reveal themselves for what they are: shadows, smoke, tricks of the mind. That moment is revelation. And here is the revelation. You are not obligated to suffer for the sake of family. Let me say it again, slowly, so it carves itself into your memory. You are not obligated to suffer for the sake of family. This single truth, if lived, has the power to shatter chains that have bound you for decades. What is love? Love is not guilt. Love is not controlled. Love is not manipulation. Love is not obedience. Love is freedom. Love is respect. Love is safety. If your family does not give you those things, then what they offer is not love. It is a counterfeit currency designed to keep you enslaved. Philosophers knew this long before psychology gave it language. Seneca warned, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." How many of us suffer endlessly in families that wound us, simply because we believe it is necessary? Jung taught, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But how can you accept yourself completely if your family taught you that your true self is unworthy? Nietzsche declared, "Become who you are." But how can you become who you are if every step of your life has been shaped by guilt comparison, and chains. The revelation is this: the highest loyalty is not to family. The highest loyalty is to your soul. You've been taught that silence equals weakness. But in truth, silence can be the most powerful weapon you possess. When you stop arguing with the family member who always twists your words, silence becomes armor. When you stop explaining yourself to the relative who never listens, silence becomes liberation. When you stop responding to every manipulation, silence becomes a declaration. You no longer control me. This silence is not absence. It is presence, the presence of boundaries, the presence of strength. Think of silence as a sword. It cuts the strings of manipulation one by one, until the puppet master realizes you are no longer a puppet. People think boundaries are walls. They are not. They are shields. A wall is built to keep everyone out. A shield is raised to protect yourself from harm, while still allowing connection with those who approach with respect. When you set a boundary, you are not shutting people out. You are declaring, "This is the space where I can love you without losing myself." Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They are the language of. Without boundaries, love becomes abuse. With boundaries, love becomes possible. Sometimes the wound is too deep. Sometimes the poison is too strong. And in those moments, distance is not betrayal, it is medicine. Distance allows you to breathe. Distance allows you to think. Distance allows you to hear your own voice without the constant echo of theirs. Think of a forest fire. If you stand too close, you are consumed. If you create distance, you can survive, heal, and return stronger. Distance is not cruelty. Distance is clarity. The revelation demands that we redefine family. Family is not blood. Family is not last names. Family is not DNA. Family is the people who celebrate you, not the ones who shrink you. Family is the people who respect you, not the ones who belittle you. Family is the people who choose you again and again, not the ones who guilt you into staying. A chosen friend who loves you unconditionally is more family than a sibling who mocks you. A mentor who believes in you is more family than a parent who dismisses your dreams. A community that supports your growth is more family than relatives who thrive on your failure. You are allowed to choose your family. And in fact, you must. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine your soul as a well, clear water at its core. Your family should protect that well, keep it pure, nourish it with love. But toxic family members throw in poison, criticism, guilt, shame, manipulation. And every time you drink from that well, you become sick. Would you keep drinking from a poisoned well, just because it belongs to your family? No, you would stop. You would protect your health. So why do you keep drinking their poison? The revelation is simple. Stop drinking. Here is another metaphor. Think of a bird in a cage. The bird stays inside, singing songs of sadness. The bird believes the bars are unbreakable. The bird believes freedom is impossible. But one day, the bird realizes the cage was never locked. The door was always open. The only thing keeping the bird inside was belief. This is you. This is me. This is everyone who has stayed in toxic family systems longer than necessary. The cage was never locked. The chains were always illusions. Freedom requires nothing more than stepping through the open door. But here is the hardest truth. The enemy is not just your family. The enemy is the voice inside you that repeats their words. Your father mocked you, but now you mock yourself. Your mother criticized you, but now you criticize yourself. Your sibling doubted you, but now you doubt yourself. The external wound becomes an internal voice. And the revelation is this. You must evict that voice. You must replace it with your own. Because the family member may no longer be in the room. But if their voice still controls your choices, they still own you. Think of the woman who stopped attending family gatherings because every gathering left her feeling worthless. She replaced them with friends who celebrated her, and for the first time in years, she laughed without guilt. That is revelation. Think of the man who stopped calling his father daily, because every call was filled with criticism. He replaced it with journaling his own thoughts, and suddenly his self-worth began to rise. That is revelation. Think of the entrepreneur who realized her brother would never support her business. She stopped seeking his approval and started building for herself. Within years, she created success beyond what he imagined. That is revelation. Revelation is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is the whisper that says, "I do not need their permission." Freedom is not the absence of chains. Freedom is the courage to stop holding them. Freedom is not a gift given by family. Freedom is a birthright. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are painted with your family's poison, your soul is stained. But if you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your soul. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery means you stop being defined by their voices. You stop being a reflection of their wounds. You stop being a slave to their illusion. True freedom begins the moment you say, "I will not suffer to make you comfortable. I will not shrink to make you proud. I will not betray myself to honor you." Weakness says, "I cannot leave because they are my family." Power says, "I must protect my soul, even if it means leaving my family." Weakness says, "I will keep drinking the poison because I do not want to upset them." Power says, "I will protect my well, even if it means they call me selfish." Weakness says, "The cage is too strong." Power says, "The cage was never locked." And once you choose power, the illusions dissolve. The revelation is not the end. It is the turning point. It is the crack in the illusion where light enters. From here, the path to transformation begins. But make no mistake. Revelation is painful. To admit your family is toxic is to grieve the family you wished you had. To set boundaries is to invite guilt. To create distance is to feel loss. But that pain is the price of freedom. And freedom is worth everything. Revelation opens your eyes. But transformation changes your life. Because seeing the truth is not enough. You must live it. You must embody it. You must take the painful, courageous steps that turn knowledge into freedom. And here is the first truth of transformation. You were taught that boundaries are betrayal. That saying no makes you selfish. That choosing your peace makes you cruel. But boundaries are not betrayal. Boundaries are the language of love. Love for yourself and love for others. Because when you set a boundary, you are saying, "I will not let you destroy me, but I still choose to love you from a safe distance. I will not allow you to disrespect me, but I still choose to see your humanity. I will not sacrifice my soul to keep you comfortable, because my soul is sacred." Think of boundaries as the fences around a garden. Without them, weeds and thieves destroy the flowers. With them, the garden flourishes. You are the garden. Your boundaries are the fence. And if your family cannot respect the fence, then they do not deserve to enter the garden. Loyalty has been twisted into chains. You've been told loyalty means staying, no matter the cost. But true loyalty is not to others. True loyalty is to your soul. You cannot be loyal to your family if it means betraying yourself. You cannot be loyal to tradition if it means suffocating your spirit. You cannot be loyal to blood if it means denying your truth. The transformation is learning this. The highest loyalty is to your own becoming. Here is the liberation. Family is chosen. Yes, you were born into blood. But you are free to choose who you call family. Family is the friend who answers the phone at 2 a.m. when you are breaking down. Family is the mentor who believes in you more than your parents ever did. Family is the partner who loves you without conditions. Family is the community that celebrates your growth instead of mocking it. Blood may start your story, but chosen love finishes it. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. You are free to build a family that lifts you instead of chains you. Sometimes the transformation is not loud. It is not confrontation. It is not screaming. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is silence. Sometimes it is distance. Not every battle must be fought. Some must simply be walked away from. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. Distance is not cruelty, it is clarity. Letting go is not betrayal, it is survival. And when you let go, you create space for peace. You create space for love. You create space for life. Do not underestimate the grief of transformation. To admit your family is toxic is to grieve the family you wished you had. To set boundaries is to accept you may lose connection. To walk away is to bury the dream of unconditional love from people who could not give it. This grief is heavy. But grief is not the end. Grief is the price of rebirth. Every ending is also a beginning. Every goodbye to toxicity is a hello to freedom. Every loss of illusion is a gain of truth. So now, I turn to you. Who in your life drains your soul under the disguise of love? Who do you tolerate because culture told you to? Who do you keep chasing, even though they never come closer? And more importantly, when will you stop? Will you spend another year, another decade, another lifetime imprisoned by the illusion of family? Or will you break the chain now? Listen to me. You are not broken for needing distance. You are not cruel for demanding respect. You are not ungrateful for choosing peace. Toxic family members can be the greatest obstacles to your happiness. But only if you allow them. The chains are invisible until you name them. The cage is locked until you test the door. The poison spreads until you stop drinking it. So walk away if you must. Draw boundaries if you must. Protect your soul if you must. Because no one else will do it for you. And when you finally take that stand, when you finally put your happiness above their control, you will discover something extraordinary. Freedom was always waiting. Love was always possible. Happiness was always yours. But only when you are brave enough to claim it. So claim it now. Choose your peace. Choose your truth. Choose your life. Because the world does not need another person crushed under the weight of obligation. The world needs you alive, free, powerful, whole, and the moment you choose yourself, the world begins to change. So, remember this. Family is not defined by blood, but by love. You are not ungrateful for choosing peace. You are not cruel for demanding respect. You are not broken for walking away. The chains were never locked. The cage was always open. The poison only spreads if you keep drinking it. And the moment you choose yourself, your truth, your peace, your life, everything changes. Because freedom was always waiting. Love was always possible. Happiness was always yours. The only question is, will you finally claim it?